All right, today we're going to dig into something really cool. It's an idea that's almost 2,000 years old, but it gets to the heart of a question that every creator, every artist still asks.
You know that feeling, right? When you hear a song, or you see a scene in a movie, or you read one line in a book, and it just hits you. It completely floors you. It's more than just being well-made. It feels bigger than that. So, what is that secret ingredient?
Well, it turns out an ancient literary critic named Longinus had a name for it, the Sublime. He wrote this whole incredible essay about it, and in doing so, he basically created one of the most lasting ideas about what separates the good stuff from the truly, truly great.
So what exactly is the sublime? For Longinus, it wasn't about being clever or having a perfect argument. No, it was the absolute peak. It's art that's so grand, so powerful, that it doesn't try to persuade you, it just overwhelms you. It hits you on this deep emotional level and fills you with this sense of total awe.
And this quote, right here, this is the absolute core of it. Sublime art doesn't just grab your attention, it literally lifts you up and carries you away. It's that feeling when you forget where you are for a second, totally lost in the power of what you're seeing or hearing. It's a real transformation.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. Longinus didn't just define this feeling, he actually gave us a roadmap. He believed this incredible effect comes from 5 main sources. Think of it like a blueprint for making something unforgettable. Let's break them down.
First up, Longinus splits his sources into 2 big groups. The first 2, he says, are gifts. They're what you're born with. They come from the natural talent and spirit of the creator. This is the raw material, the spark.
So the very first source is grandeur of thought. And it's pretty simple, really. You can't create something sublime out of something small or trivial. To get to that level, you have to start with a big idea, a concept that is itself noble, impressive, something worthy of a grand treatment.
And the second source? Inspired emotion. Or you could just call it raw, authentic passion. Longinus was convinced that if the writer isn't genuinely, deeply moved by their own subject, there's no way the audience is going to be. That feeling has to be real because passion is absolutely contagious. It's what you feel when you know an artist poured their whole soul into their work.
Okay, so if the first 2 sources are all about natural-born talent, the next 3 are about learned skill. This is the craft, the technique. This is the stuff that any dedicated artist can study, practice, and eventually master to shape all that raw talent into something brilliant.
Source number 3 is the use of figures. Just think of these as the tools in a writer's toolbox. Things like metaphors, similes, powerful imagery. These are what a writer uses to lift language up from just being ordinary, to make it more vivid and more powerful.
Just look at this. It was very hot. Okay, that tells you a fact, but the air was a heavy, fiery blanket? Whoa, that makes you feel the heat, right? That is the power we're talking about. It turns a simple statement into a whole sensory experience. The fourth source is noble diction. This is all about choosing the absolute perfect words. To keep that feeling of grandeur going, the words themselves have to be elegant and powerful enough for the big idea you're tackling. If you use slang or just everyday language, you can break the spell in an instant and pull your audience right out of that sublime moment.
And finally, we have number 5, dignified composition. This is where it all comes together. It's the art of arranging everything else. That big idea, the intense passion, the powerful words, so they all work together in perfect harmony to create one single powerful effect. This is the masterstroke.
So this all builds to the central point of Longinus' whole theory. He wasn't saying it's either talent or skill. He was arguing that to reach the absolute peak, you need both. The real magic happens where natural genius and learned mastery come together.
Look at it this way. It's a partnership. Nature, or talent, gives you the raw power, the big thoughts, and the real passion. But art, or skill, gives you the structure to control that power, the right figures, the right words, the perfect arrangement. One without the other is just incomplete.
I love this way of thinking about it. Your natural talent is the fire, the raw, burning energy at the heart of your work. But all your learned skill, that's what builds the vessel. It gives that fire a beautiful, powerful form, so it can actually light up the world. You gotta have both.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, Longinus didn't just give us the theory. He pointed to some amazing examples of what he called this voice of thunder.
Of course, he talked about the great Greek masters, like the poet Homer and the philosopher Plato. But his most powerful and honestly most surprising example came from a place you wouldn't expect a Greek critic to look: the Hebrew Scriptures. Just listen to that. For Longinus, this one sentence was the perfect example of the sublime. Notice how simple it is. There are no fancy words, no complicated structure, but the grandeur of the thought. It's almost impossible to wrap your head around. It's the ultimate act of creation, and it's expressed with such incredible power and economy. It doesn't just tell you something happened. It makes you feel the immense, effortless power of creation itself.
And that really brings us full circle. This ancient idea is just as real and relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What work of art, a song, a movie, a book, maybe even a video game, does this for you? What is it that truly transports you and takes you outside yourself?